heard it. 3 knocks, clear and deliberate, right on my bedroom door. 2:19 a.m. I know because the pale blue glow of my digital clock spilled across the ceiling, cold and sharp. I live alone. 5th floor. Deadbolt locked from the inside. No balcony, no open windows, no way for anyone to be out there. At first I told myself I was dreaming, but then it came again, slower this time, heavier, like someone driving their whole fist into the wood, making sure I knew they were there. I froze, holding my breath. The only sound was the pounding in my ears. I wanted to call out, but my throat locked up tight, like someone's hand was clamped around it. And then I saw it. Something dark seeping under the crack of the door, thick and slow. I didn't dare move. And that's when it hit me. Whoever, or whatever, was out there hadn't come to knock. It had come to get in. The black liquid kept sliding in, curling across the floor, like it knew exactly where I was. It didn't spread like water, it crawled. Hugging the floorboards, clinging to the seams, twitching forward in strange, jerky bursts as if some unseen hand was dragging it toward me. I forced myself to reach for my phone. My fingers felt numb, clumsy, like I was moving underwater. No signal. Not a single bar. I checked again, still nothing. My Wi-Fi icon flickered, then vanished completely. The building was silent, but it wasn't the kind of silence you get at night. This was heavier. It pressed in on me, swallowing the tiny creaks and hums I'd always heard before. Then came the whisper. Not from outside the door. No, it was inside my apartment now. Low, ragged, and right against my ear. Don't look. I went rigid. My breath caught in my throat. The instinct to turn toward the voice clawed at me, but something deep in my gut screamed that if I did, I wouldn't like what I saw. The knocking started again, but this time it wasn't on the door. It came from under the bed. 3 slow, hollow thuds like knuckles on wood. I jerked my feet up, curling them beneath me. The dark liquid was almost at my toes now, its edges writhing like hundreds of tiny worms. The air changed, colder, sharper, and I could smell it now. Something metallic, almost like pennies left in your mouth too long. And then, my phone screen lit up by itself. A single notification. Look under. I didn't want to look. Every nerve in my body screamed, don't move, but my hands betrayed me. My fingers trembled as I set the phone down, the glow painting my room in pale blue light. The message still sat there on the screen, pulsing like a heartbeat. Look under. Something shifted beneath the bed. Not the shuffle of dust or the skitter of a mouse. This was heavier, slow, deliberate. I could hear the scrape of wood fibers as if fingernails were dragging across the floor from the inside. The black liquid didn't wait. It surged forward, spilling over my feet. It was cold. Too cold. My skin burned where it touched, a searing frostbite that made my calves seize up. I yanked my legs away, but the liquid clung to me, stretching like tar before snapping back under the bed. That's when I saw it. Not with my eyes exactly. More like my mind filled in the shape. Long arms, knees bent the wrong way. A head too narrow, cocked at an impossible angle. It was lying flat under the bed, its face inches from the floorboards, staring straight up at me. I swear I felt its smile. The phone buzzed again, making me flinch so hard my teeth clicked. A new message. If you get up, it follows. The smell hit me then. Rot so thick it felt like I was breathing through meat. My eyes watered, my chest heaved. Another knock from under the bed. This time faster, urgent. And then a hand. Pale, wet, and wrong. It slid out just enough for its fingertips to curl around the edge of my blanket. The blanket twitched. It wasn't a pull. It was more like the thing was testing the fabric, feeling the weave between its fingers. My breath caught in my throat, and I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Then, without warning, it yanked. I lurched forward to grab the blanket, but my fingers slipped on the damp fabric. The smell hit me full force now, like wet earth after a grave had been opened. My eyes darted to the phone. It was still in my lap. Another buzz. "It wants you to lean over." The words hit like a slap. My knees locked. From under the bed came a sound I can't even name, half a hiss, half a deep, throaty laugh that made the air feel heavier. My floorboards creaked one by one in a slow rhythm moving toward the wall. And then, scratching. Not random. Writing. The sound carved itself into my bones. Short, long, short, short, long. Over and over. It wasn't until I realized it was spelling something, my name, that my stomach flipped. The tar-like liquid began seeping up between the floorboards now, pooling around my feet. It rippled, like something beneath it was swimming upward. I couldn't stand it anymore. I slid off the bed, feet hitting the cold, wet floor, and pressed my back against the wall. The room went silent. Then a voice whispered from under the bed, raspy, broken, but perfectly clear. "Found you." The mattress above me dipped as if something was climbing onto it. The mattress dipped once, twice. Then it sagged in the middle, like something impossibly heavy was crawling toward the edge. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The tar pooling around my feet thickened, clinging to my skin, and in it I could see faint, shifting shapes, like faces pressing against black glass from the other side. Mouths opening in silent screams before dissolving back into the dark. The blanket slid slowly to the floor, not thrown, lowered, like it wanted me to watch. My phone buzzed again in my lap. No words this time, just a photo. It was my room, taken from directly above me, and in the top right corner, a figure hunched on the bed, its head bent at an impossible angle, its hair hanging in wet ropes over where my body would have been if I'd stayed lying there. I looked up. Nothing. Then the air temperature dropped so fast my breath turned white. The tar at my feet began to ripple violently, and a second sound joined the creaking of the mattress, tiny skittering steps like dozens of legs moving across the walls. From the shadows near my dresser, something else emerged. Small, pale hands gripping the wood, pulling up ahead with eyes so black they reflected nothing. It tilted its face toward me, smiling too wide. The voice under the bed rasped again, but this time it didn't say "found you." It said, "We found you." The hands on the dresser twitched. The mattress groaned. And then, in perfect unison, both voices whispered, "Come closer." The moment they spoke in unison, something deep inside me snapped. I bolted for the door. The tar on the floor wasn't just there anymore. It was moving, surging toward me in thick, oily waves. Each step felt like I was running through wet cement, dragging me back toward the bed. Behind me, the mattress collapsed with a deafening crack, as if the weight on it had finally broken the frame. The thing under it didn't crawl. It exploded out, limbs bending in directions no human joints could go, slamming into the wall hard enough to rattle the picture frames. I yanked the door open, or tried to. The knob turned, but the door didn't move. Something on the other side was pressing it shut. Slow, deliberate pressure, the way you might hold a lid on a jar you know is about to burst. I spun toward the window. The glass was gone. Not broken, just missing, replaced by a shifting sheet of darkness that pulsed like a heartbeat. Through it, faint lights shimmered far away, as if the night outside wasn't my street at all, but some bottomless place. Then I felt breath on the back of my neck. Low, wet breathing. I turned, and the pale-eyed thing from the dresser was inches from my face. Its mouth unhinged far too wide, strands of saliva stretching in the gap, and in that black pit of a throat, I saw movement, like something else was living inside. It lunged. I threw myself sideways, crashing into my desk. Papers and a lamp clattered to the floor. The creature hit the wall, its limbs folding in on themselves before it straightened again, slow and deliberate, smiling as though it had time. And then, every wall in the room began to knock. Not from the outside, from inside. Knock, 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 each one closer, louder. And I realized with sick clarity, whatever was in the walls was coming through. The last knock didn't fade, it split the wall open. It wasn't drywall anymore, it peeled apart like wet skin, curling back in strips, revealing something black and slick underneath. Not empty space, more like a tunnel pulsing faintly as if alive. From inside, pale hands emerged, dozens of them, groping blindly, fingers too long, nails scraping in jagged arcs. I backed up until my shoulders hit the window's darkness. It was cold. Cold in a way that felt wet without being wet. Something on the other side pressed back against me, matching my shape, breathing where I breathed. The hands came faster now, clawing their way through, and between them a face slid out. Half human, half smeared, like someone's features had been dragged across wet paint. Its eyes were glassy, but focused on me. It whispered my name, not in a hiss, not in a scream, just calm, like a friend calling me home. Then, from the ceiling, a crack shot across the plaster and bled a thick black liquid that hit the floor in heavy drops. Each drop sizzled, burning small holes straight through the wood. The smell hit me, rot, damp earth, and something like burnt hair. I grabbed the chair by my desk and swung it at the wall hands. But the chair passed right through them, like they weren't fully here. My arm tingled from the contact, skin prickling, nerves screaming. One of the hands caught my wrist. It wasn't strong. It didn't need to be. The instant it touched me, my skin began to sink, as if the hand was pulling the flesh inward, trying to unmake it. I screamed and yanked free, leaving behind a patch of skin pale and cold as stone. The painted face thing smiled wider, its jaw stretching until it cracked, and behind it, the tunnel seemed to open into a vast black void, where hundreds of faint, glowing eyes waited. The window darkness behind me pressed harder, shoving me toward that tunnel. I dug my heels into the floor, but the boards beneath my feet began to slant, like the whole room was tilting toward the opening. My last thought before I lost my balance wasn't about survival. It was the sick realization that whatever was in there had been waiting for me all along. I didn't fall. I was taken. The moment my heels left the slanted boards, the dark swallowed me like water, cold, thick, and endless. There was no wind, no rush, just weight pressing in on every inch of me, as if I'd been poured into something that was my exact shape. For a moment I thought I was blind, until faint shapes began to move around me. Not walls, ribs. I was inside something's body. The space pulsed, slow and steady, each beat shoving me deeper along a narrow path. My bare skin brushed against the inner surface. It was slick, warm, and gave under pressure like muscle. Somewhere ahead, a dim orange glow flickered. I pushed toward it, but the floor, if it was a floor, shifted beneath me, rippling like liquid, sucking at my feet. The sound of breathing surrounded me, but it wasn't my own. It came in low, drawn-out pulls, each one ending in a faint clicking noise, like teeth snapping shut. Then I heard the voices. They weren't speaking a language, but I understood. Fragments of my own thoughts came back to me, repeated in tones that weren't mine. Too late. You're here. You belong. The glow ahead sharpened into shape. A tall, crooked doorway made entirely of teeth, each one the size of my arm, grinding softly as if chewing on air. The pulsing walls behind me contracted sharply, shoving me toward it. I dug my fingers into the slick flesh, trying to hold on, but the surface peeled away like wet paper, coming off in strips that stuck to my hands. Beneath the strips, I could see eyes, small human eyes, blinking up at me from under the skin. A shadow stepped into the glowing doorway. It had no face, only a hollow hole where one should be, and inside that hole was movement, like hundreds of insects crawling over each other. It tilted its head, and I swear I could feel it smelling me. I didn't have time to run. The teeth door clamped shut, and everything went black again.